Hello, this is Evangelist Dr. Robert L. McKim Sr. from Carrollton, Ohio. Well, it's been some week. We've celebrated our Independence Day, the day that we declared independence from Britain, a tyrant government that, long story short, study history and you know what happened. And what's happening today also is where we have another tyrant government. A government that clearly will charge somebody for, a crime that they didn't commit just because they said something to somebody else and that person turns them into the law. But long story short, and then, it turns out, basically that the person didn't mean what they said, and they get charged a lesser charge. But here we have Hillary Clinton having a laundry list of charges and then not being charged. See, the thing is, Bill Clinton met with the Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and of course now Hillary Clinton is not charged with a crime that she clearly committed. Jesus said in Matthew 24:12, because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. Lawlessness will abound in the last days, and that's what's happening. Clearly, that is what is happening, because we're having people shooting each other, even if they're not intending to shoot somebody. A police officer had just shot a man who told him, I'm carrying and I have a concealed carry permit. The officer asked him to get his ID out. That's what he was reaching for. Not a gun. And then 4 shots into the guy. Shooting somebody over a broken tail light. Is that what it's come to, that police officers, if you tell them you are carrying and you have a legal permit to carry, that they still have the right to shoot you and kill you? No. That police officer needs to be hung by the nearest tree. When are we going to stop letting these police officers and judges get away with what they're doing? In the cowboy days, they would have been hung for what they're doing. Trying to, and even lawmakers, I'm sorry, back in the cowboy days, nobody would let anybody get away with breaking the law. And there are lawmakers, there are judges, and there are officers who are breaking the law, and they just get a slap on the wrist or put in prison. Let prison take care of them. When are we just going to stop and start doing what they used to do and just hang them. That's how we take care of the injustice in this world. There's another injustice that's going on right now too. In the state of Iowa, Christians are being told they have to, or churches basically, they have to have a transgender bathroom if they are open to the public. News flash. According to this, this guy here that wrote this story, as he states here, that churches that are basically bona fide, or churches that are open to the public, that have daycare and other community activities in the church, have to have a transgender bathroom. But excuse me, all churches are open to the public. When the church is in session, anybody can walk into that church and sit down in the pew or the chairs and listen to the service. Does that mean that all, let's say it's a transgender person or a gay or lesbian comes into church. Oh, now, wait a minute. They got to use a bathroom that the church doesn't agree with, and now the church has to fork out lots of money that they don't have to put in another bathroom to cater to these sinful people that do not want to change it, but they want the church to change. No, I'm not changing to suit you. You're going to either wake up or get out. In the Bible, in Kings, let me find it here. First Kings. Trying to remember where it was last. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember here where it says in First Kings. Well, long story short, in First Kings, I read. We was reading Bible study last week. that all the homosexuals and can't remember where that was because I didn't mark it in this Bible. All the homosexuals and the harlots, the what we consider as LGBTs today, lesbians, gays, and bisexuals and transgenders. They were thrown out of Judea. They were thrown out of the land. Well, that's not politically correct to read that and to talk about that in a church. Throwing out the LGBTs, throwing them out of the land. You know what? I'm not politically correct. I'm biblically correct. Both Old Testament and New Testament, because let me tell you something. What is the gospel? The gospel is the law of God. The word of God is the gospel. The law, the Ten Commandments is the gospel. Everything that Jesus said is the gospel. This is the gospel. Truth. Now, make fun of me all you want, because it just shows what kind of people you really are. You're wanting your agenda and our agenda, the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the gospel of God. You want the truth to be stifled, even in the church. So there too that if the only way around, basically, the only way around this issue of churches not being open to the public is for everybody that comes into that church to be a member of that church. I don't want to be a member of a church because a membership doesn't get you to heaven. Right here, what's in here gets you to heaven, and God knows your heart. God knows your soul. God knows your spirit. And when your name is written in the Lamb's book of life, and how do you get your name written in the Lamb's book of life? Is it just living a good life? Living a godly life. Living the life that God expects you to live. And how can you know how God wants you to live? It's in the Bible. It's in the gospel. The Old Testament and the New Testament. The law, the Ten Commandments, and the other laws that are there to tell you what you know is right and what is wrong. But see, a lot of people don't want to live by what is right and what is wrong. They just want to live by what they think is right and wrong. Well, I'm not going to have anybody come here to my home and tell me, hey, you can't preach no more. Not the Old Testament. And you can't preach what Jesus said, that marriage is between a man and a woman. You can't preach any of that stuff. I'll be like, there's a door, this is my home. Not your home. And I'll preach what I want to preach, what God tells me to preach. And let me tell you something. God has never told me not to preach His Word. God has said, in 2 Timothy 4, preach the Word, be ready in season and out of season, convince, rebuke, exhort with all longsuffering and teaching. For there will be a time when they will not endure sound doctrine, but according to their own desires. Isn't that what's happening today? Because they have itching ears, they will heap up themselves teachers, and they will turn their ears away from the truth and be turned aside to fables, or philosophies, basically. But you be watchful in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, fulfill your ministry. That's what I'm doing. And also, in 1 Timothy 4, he wrote, now the Spirit exceedingly says that in latter times, which is where we are now, some will depart from the faith, giving heed to deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their own conscience seared with a hot iron. I'm going to stop there. And like I said, Jesus said in Matthew 24, down here in 12, and because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. Lawmakers of Iowa, I'm warning you right now. God's not happy with you. You're telling His people that they cannot preach the Word as long as their churches are open to the public. Who are you to tell a church or a pastor or a minister what they can and cannot preach? Yeah, granted, the Constitution says Congress shall make no law. But now you're saying states can make laws to tell churches what they can and cannot do. Because that's the reason why the First Amendment was written, because states in the beginning were telling people who lived in that state that if you're not part of this church, or you're not part of that church, or you're not part of this church, then you can't live in this state. So then the First Amendment was written, and then the states changed their constitutions as well. And I'm sure it's in the constitution of your state somewhere where you are not allowed to infringe on the churches as well. A lot of things going on this week that's so troublesome. And all I'm going to say is that it's getting closer and closer and closer. Churches are going to have to go underground in order to really listen to the truth of the Word. And then we're going to be hunted down. Like in my dream, my vision I had. And it was before the guys that was on Jim Bakker's show that said that the churches are going to have to go underground. I had this vision that churches were being hunted down, shot and killed if we didn't comply, or imprisoned. You know, I gotta get off here before I go too much longer. God bless you. Have a blessed day.